Greetings, everyone. This is an overview for Project One. I want to make sure you know how to find the assignment and the chapters that we're using to help you complete Project One. On Blackboard, if you go either to course documents or when you're inside of a week, it may have a link directly to the assignment that inside a folder. Now, in this folder, you have all of the material you need for the first project. I've taken the textbook and I've broken it down into smaller, manageable sizes or files. So we have the introduction to part one. So we are going to be working on these particular writing skills: description, narration, and reflection. So I'm going to go ahead and open all of them, just so I can get through this presentation. So as I said, I'm hoping this will make it a bit easier to access this information by breaking the book down into manageable pieces. You have examples of the assignment. So these are some models. And I believe the textbook that we're using, they're all models written by students. So not trying to have you figure out what professional writers have done. And then this section here is this is the end notes. So throughout the chapter, you may see some little subscript numbers, and these are notes. So this last section here, these are some additional notes about content that you've gotten in the chapter. So there I have all of the pieces open. So as you begin the reflective assignment this first writing assignment that we're doing, where you get introduced to it. I don't necessarily tell you, hey, you have to read this now and this now and this now. You kind of have all of it at your fingertips. So when we start an assignment, I'm like, here's all the material. And I will ask you to submit pieces, but you have a lot of freedom to make up your mind here. You should read the assignment, you should read the chapters, and you should do the activities and pay attention to the techniques that the chapter is delivering, because you're going to need these techniques to create, the final document that you will submit for grading. So I have here just the introduction to part one. You will see vocabulary. So there actually may be times where you'll get a little quiz about the vocabulary that's in the chapter, so you should pay attention to it. I have to be honest with you. We are all using this textbook for the first time. I'm using it for the first time. You're using it for the first time. So no, I don't have or know everything about this textbook as we get started, but I do know the vocabulary is important. So I'm going to strongly suggest that you pay attention to the vocabulary, make notes on the vocabulary. Maybe you should copy it down. So just keep that in mind, because the vocabulary is going to come back. You will see it when I am evaluating. I may ask you something that seems outrageous. Like here in the introduction, I may ask at some point, like, could you explain the rhetorical situation that you are using for this particular writing task? And it could be any writing task, because the rhetorical situation happens for all of our communications. So when we're thinking about how we're communicating with each other, you will find that you have to think about things like, what are the circumstances under which I am producing this writing, making these writing choices. So rhetoric, you can think of as specific writing choices. So pay attention to the vocabulary. All right, so as far as the part one introduction, yes, you should read it. I like to start at the end. So one of the things I usually do, if I can find it here, is I want to know what the assignment is. So starting with the assignment may be a good approach. So what are you going to be producing? What type of writing? And so read the assignment sheet. So you are going to be creating a descriptive personal narrative. Read the assignment sheet. don't worry about filling out this form here, because you're just reading the assignment sheet for the first time. But take a look at this information. So I would read through this, like, okay, what am I being asked to do? The bulk of the information you need to get started for this assignment is going to be on the first page. It's like, hey, this is the assignment. Now go back, because yes, you will need elements from chapter 1. You are going to have to describe for you're going to have to use descriptive writing strategies for this first writing product. You're going to then need to tell a story. You're writing about a real life experience, but you are delivering a story. It has to be based on something real that happened to you. We can get into the, well, how do you know it's true or not? I don't. I won't, necessarily. Usually, though, I can tell, because people don't write well about things that they make up. They tend to write better about, because this is what you're asked to do, is tell a personal real life story. So that happened to you. So you have to be the star of your story. So you're using elements from chapter 2, and you're using elements from chapter 3, because the type of writing that you're going to do for this first project is reflective. You're reflecting on an experience. When we stop and we think and we reflect, we try to figure out, well, what is the learning? What is the meaning? How am I developing or maturing through an experience or significant moment in our lives? Okay, so chapters 1, 2, and 3, using all of them to create your personal story narrative for the first project. Now, what you will be asked to do for each of the chapters that we're looking at right now, they are divided up they give you an overview, and I'm just gonna focus on chapter 1 for this. They give you an overview, right? And then they give you a list of vocabulary. Chapter vocabulary. This vocabulary is important. For chapter 1, yes, pay attention to all of the vocabulary. Um, I think the only one that may be super new to people would be this ethnography. But all of this vocabulary they give you a brief description and then a brief definition, but you want to look for these are writing choices. These are things that writers do in order to produce some sort of end product, and different forms of writing. So this is personal writing. There's not going to be any research that you have to do, but I want you to pay particular attention to thick description. Might be something new to some of us. Ethnography definitely may be something new. Defamiliarization may be something new. And also just basically this thing called constraint-based writing may be something new. But you're going to use a combination of these approaches. So you're not going to use all of them, but something that you're going to use and you can use across any kind of writing is this idea of thick description. Pay attention to that. And perhaps even this defamiliarization. All right, so the next thing you'll see in the chapter, usually it's going to be some explanation about techniques. So read through that, ask questions. You can ask your questions on Blackboard, you can come during office hours, but I want you to read through the techniques because you're going to be expected to use these things. What choices did you make as a writer? Those choices, those answers come from the chapters. And then the next thing you will see is usually activities. So if you scroll through the chapter, you'll get to a section where there's activities, and there's usually more than one. I don't want to tell everyone to do the exact same activity because it may not fit each person. So select an activity. You're going to post on Blackboard something about the activity that you completed per chapter. But what's going to be most important is what you tell me and your classmates on Blackboard about your experience. So think about it this way. If there are like 25 people in class, if 3 people pick this microethnography, then I can go and see, oh, this is what my classmates had to say about doing the same activity. And in that way, even though we're not in the same class, we're building a learning community and we are having a conversation offline. Has to get done within a certain time period, but we can still learn and share with each other. And so, of course, if I have to respond to someone, I would likely respond to someone who did the same activity that I did. Or maybe I wanted to do a different activity. I wanted to do the imagery and I didn't, but I did the ethnography one instead. I can respond to this one like, oh, I can see how that works. That you've posted on Blackboard, and you will get started on writing your version of your assignment, right? So the assignment sheet. And this is why I say read the assignment sheet, then go back and look at the chapters, because the assignment sheet will require you to use some of the writing choices techniques from each of the chapters preceding it. For examples, you have the student models. And so we will usually have our major projects set up like this. It gets introduced and you have a week or how much time in the middle to work on activities and ask questions, and you may have to post back and forth on Blackboard. And then you will have a draft period, and then reflection and a final product. And then we start with another major project. So they're short assignments that I'll give you, but the major projects, they're all basically outlined for you in the text. And so I'm going to go back to, I think hopefully this is chapter 1, I believe. So that's my mini lecture sort of overview for getting started. Thank you.